It's baffled scholars for 2 millennia. It is a puzzle made of multi-dimensional elements, an enigma with roots that reach back to the dawning of time, perhaps before. Daniel explained part of it. Ezekiel and Isaiah had glimpses into it. John saw it all for the time of the end. That time is now. Join Derek and Sharon Gilbert on a journey that spans the course of history, from Eden to Mount Hermon, from Hermon to Babel, from Babel to Rome, from Rome to the cross, and from there to us. Biblical prophecy is coming true before your eyes, and to understand it, you must discern the times both then and now. It's time to unravel the threads of this all-encompassing prophetic paradox. It's time to unravel Revelation. Welcome to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and we are delighted that you've chosen to join us. And you join us every week, and you tell your friends, and that you've downloaded the app.
Absolutely. This is a way to guarantee that we never get separated from you. We'll continue to use social media.
We want to go with you everywhere.
Yes, online video sharing sites. If you're there, God bless you. Subscribe, share that link with your friends. But then please download our free app, because not only do you get all of our content and we won't be canceled from our app,
right,
we also have a Bible module on there, multiple translations, an audio Bible actually, calendar of our upcoming events, and a messaging center where you can communicate with others, ask for prayer, share your praise reports, discuss the topics that we bring up here on this program. All of this available at our app for free.
The other thing is that Derek and I always record these several weeks in advance of when you see them. But if you are on the app, we will make announcements so you'll know what's actually going on in our lives and what things we've discovered, because we'll put them in the announcements section of the app. And you can also ask us questions, and we do our best to get in there and answer them as time allows. And we thank you for all of those questions. They mean a lot to us. You'll also get Build Bar Better updates.
Oh, yes, yes. So download the app. You can find it at unravelingrevelation.tv or gilberthouse.org, both of those places. Then add /app, and that will link you to the app stores for iOS, Android, Amazon Kindle Fire. We also have Roku and Apple TV versions, but those just bring you the content, don't have the additional features like the calendar and the messaging section. So do get that, and we thank you for taking the time to do it.
Well, you know, it's hard to believe it's October.
Yeah, it is. We have really just burned through this year without realizing it.
Well, it's really burned through for me, because you and I both have book ideas and sort of schedules. We have self-imposed schedules. I want to release book 9 of the Red Wing Saga in late December. We also plan a book that we're writing together that isn't quite gelled yet. But we'll get there, and the Lord's timing is always perfect, so we thank Him for that. But October also reminds me about a lot of the spirit realm. The entire world is talking about the spirit realm as Halloween approaches. So it's a great opportunity to tell people the truth and to share that truth with them. And one of those truths has to do with this beast that the Inanna goddess is riding, the whore of Babylon is riding in Revelation 17.
Yeah, we've talked about this over the past few weeks, as we've really been taking our time kind of picking this apart and pulling on various threads.
Because this is major. I mean, it actually is. There's an important scene. The Lord in the Revelation to John makes a special scene of this.
Yeah.
So it's important.
And so we don't want to rush through it. One of our guiding principles as we've been going through this study now, and we're up to study number 210 or something like that, is...
Can that be?
Yeah. I thought we'd maybe get 1 year out of this.
Yeah.
Is that we have to look at this as a supernatural war. And if we analyze the symbols in Revelation strictly from a naturalistic perspective, for example, viewing the locust-like things from the abyss in Revelation 9 as helicopters, we're missing the point. This is a supernatural war with supernatural rebels that are trying to take dominion of the earth away from God, away from, well, the children of Adam and Eve, who, we were given dominion of it, and of course we lost it through sin in the garden, but the fully man, fully divine Jesus, Messiah, has reclaimed the right. He is the only one
who was found worthy to open the seals on the title deed
Yes.
for the earth.
And the only one who has the right to sit on that throne.
Exactly.
Fully human,
Yes.
and yet fully divine.
So what we're witnessing in Revelation, and we're up to Revelation chapter 17 now, is the effort by the war plan by the enemy to try to take that away, to somehow circumvent what God had already decreed is going to happen. So we're seeing this woman sitting on the scarlet beast in the wilderness. We think that woman is the entity known to the ancient Sumerians as Inanna. We believe that this beast is the spirit that is called chaos or Leviathan in the Bible. But some of the symbolism connected to this entity are really, really curious. We've got 7 heads and 10 horns with 10 diadems, crowns of royalty on this entity. Now, the diadems, at least in Scripture, are reserved for, in the book of Revelation, reserved for Satan, the beast, and Jesus. Although Jesus is described in Revelation 19 as having many diadems.
Yes.
Satan has 7, the beast has 10. Jesus has many. Now,
that means he rules over all.
He rules over all aspects. The other entities that we saw in Revelation chapter 6, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, riders on the white, red, black, and pale horse. The rider on the white horse, who we think is the entity called Apollo, is wearing a Stephanos, a crown of victory, which is not a crown of royalty. So there's something different about him compared to these. Now,
really quickly, I just want to ask you a question. Since Satan is wearing 7 diadems, and we see how many diadems on the beast?
10.
10, but there are 7 heads.
Right.
Is it possible that Satan is somehow controlling or involved in convincing the kings that wore the 7 diadems, the 7 heads on the beast? There is a theory, if you've been watching this for a while, that Satan tempted Shemyaza into rebelling.
Shemyaza being the chief of the Watchers, this is explained in the book of Enoch, who rebelled. These are the sons of God from Genesis chapter 6.
Therefore, if we also see Satan standing on the shore, sort of orchestrating the rise of the beast,
Right.
which implies that there's a connection between him and the beast, and perhaps a connection between these 7 heads. So does he wear 7 crowns because he controls the whole known earth, the earth at the time, and therefore he gives that power to these heads?
He is given power to the beast.
Because he offered that kingdom to Jesus.
Yes, he did.
Who turned it down.
And Jesus mentions in the Gospel of Matthew and parallel chapters in Mark and Luke, he mentions that Satan has a kingdom. This is when Jesus is accused of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebul, Baal the prince. Jesus says, if Satan casts out demons by his own power, how will his kingdom stand?
Exactly. He is the king of this world.
Right.
Right now.
Right now.
That's temporary.
So it would appear that as we're looking at the hierarchy in the fallen realm in the book of Revelation, it would appear that Satan is the king of this rebellion. He's leading the rebellion. Chaos, Leviathan, the beast, is
working with him.
And if you look then at Ezekiel 38 and 39, he would be the figure called Gog of Magog, the leader. He's essentially the chief of staff, or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He's like the military commander for Satan.
When you say he, you're talking about chaos.
Chaos, right. He would appear to be the leader of the military for Satan.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What if, sorry, I know many of you just like, stop interrupting him. But I think there are also those who come up with the same questions or similar ones. Gog being a spirit, Gog may be one of these 7.
Right.
Or we see that 8 is one of the 7.
Right. Well, let's read Revelation 17:9, because this is where we get into this 7 and 8-headed thing and what we're trying to figure out. John is, let me back up to verse 7. John is marveling at the woman riding the beast. And in verse 7, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel to see the beast, because it was, and is not, and is to come. Verse 9, this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. Verse 10, they are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. Verse 11, as for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction. And that word destruction is
Apollyon.
Apollyon, right? And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. Now, the word translated kings is basilia, or basileus,
Yes.
which is a like a sub-king. The word meaning hind king in Greek is an X.
Basilisk is also a type
Right.
of dragon.
Right, right. So this section here of Revelation has prompted speculation and argument for the last 2,000 years. As the early church theologian Irenaeus said, he thought the most likely identification of the beast, because as we read previously, the number of the beast is 666, 666. He thought that was the word Titan. Now, he spelled it slightly differently, T-E-I-T-A-N, which in gematria equals 666.
Right.
He also thought it was rather applicable. I think that's really insightful, because even though Chaos or Leviathan or Typhon in the Greek mind, their chaos monster, was not one of the Titans per se, it was the offspring of Gaia. And in some Greek stories, he was considered one of the Titans, but certainly he was banished by Zeus, Jupiter, Satan, Baal, to the abyss. Of course, that's the fake news version. God, the Father, is the one who subdued chaos. And sent him to Tartarus alongside the Titans. So when you're reading this as somebody who is soaking in Greek religion in the 1st century AD, the idea that this thing is emerging from the bottomless pit, it's like, okay, well, that's one of the Titans, because that's where the Titans are, the bottomless pit, Tartarus.
Right.
And certainly the description of the 7-headed beast would be consistent in the Greek mind with the idea of Typhon.
Right. Question though, in verse 10, there are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen.
Right, right.
One is, the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. Does this mean that this refers to their reign upon the earth? The time period in which Satan says, here's a crown, go wear it?
That is a really good question. There are those who think that this refers to a succession of Roman emperors.
Well,
Now that
possibly.
would be the preterist or partial preterist view that we talked about previously. Nero Redivivus,
Right.
that Nero was not really dead, and Nero was coming back from the east with a Parthian army. Nero was a lot more popular with the typical Roman on the street than he was with the Senate.
He
But
had a very loose idea of how to be sociable.
yeah. But he gave away a lot of free stuff to the commoners, and so they were a little more favorable to
Yeah.
Nero. Even 2,000 years ago, that was a thing. Hey, let's give away free stuff to the commoners, and that'll keep us in power.
It's the bread and circuses idea.
Bread and circuses, right. Now, we tend to think, though, that these kings are supernatural entities rather than
Exactly.
humans.
But they may be working through humans.
Sure, right. So the question is, who were these 7 kings? There is a theory out there that we're looking at some of the most prominent rebels against God and against Israel. For example, Nimrod, the Pharaoh of the Exodus, Nebuchadnezzar, Sennacherib, the Assyrian king who surrounded Jerusalem, and so on. And that the 8th being one of the 7 would be one of these kings reborn. Now, we don't subscribe to that. Nimrod, he's human, he's dead, he's not coming back.
But the same spirit can inhabit a different human.
Right. So if we're dealing with demonic spirits And we certainly think that the demons will have a role to play in the end times. We go into that in our book, Veneration. I also go into that in Last Clash of the Titans. The travelers of Ezekiel 38 and 39, that word was used specifically of the Rephaim by the Canaanite neighbors of ancient Israel. Demons. So there is a demon-possessed army that comes against Israel in the last days.
Here's a question, another one. The goal of the Antichrist is to take the seat, the throne in Jerusalem. That won't work. He doesn't fit it because he's not fully human.
Right.
Nor is he fully divine. Sorry, you're a hybrid if you are inhabited. What if these previous kings were all spirits that tried to take the throne in Jerusalem? That's
a really good point. I think that would be really likely. Antiochus Epiphanes would be one of those.
Definitely one of those.
That's a really good theory. And
we would recommend to you Birthright, which is Timothy Alberino's book that came out last year. By the way, Alberino is going to go with us to Israel, which we'll tell you more about after this break.
Jesus declared that the gates of hell would not prevail against his church. But humans have tried to contact fallen angels on the other side of those gates since the Stone Age, and they're still trying today. Arm yourself with information. During January, our special offer features our new books, The Gates of Hell and Destination Earth, co-authored with Donna Howell and Allie Anderson. Find out where Jesus was baptized, why it wasn't where most people think, and why it was a declaration of war against the fallen realm. How the belief in ancient aliens is based on the New Age and occult teachings of Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, and how Hollywood has effectively spread the ET gospel. Our 2 new books, plus the DVDs What Lies Beneath, about the world's oldest temple, Göbekli Tepe, and the 13-part teaching DVD based on the second coming of Saturn. This is a $99 value, but during January, it's just $45 plus shipping and handling. Only at gilberthouse.org/store.
Welcome back to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and we get so excited we almost forget to take a break sometimes. But yes, next spring in 2024, we're going to be traveling back to Israel with Timothy Alberino.
We'll be there from March 31st through April 9th with an optional 3-day extension to Jordan. As we go through the land of Israel, we'll take you to some of the megalithic sites that we think are really significant to understanding this long battle between God and, well, death.
Yes.
The whole point is overcoming sin and death. And really, there was a cult of the dead that surrounded ancient Israel and drew the Israelites in. So we'll take you to Gilgal Rephaim. We'll take you to the dolmens, these megalithic funerary monuments. We'll show you the valley of the shadow of death. We think it's a real place. And then we'll take you to the, well, ground zero on the battleground, the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and
God
more.
willing, we'll go to Joshua's altar.
Yes, yes. So you can find out more and reserve your place. There's still time to sign up at gilbertsinisrael.com, gilbertsinisrael.com.
And no matter what year it is, you can always go to that website and find out when the next tour is happening.
Right, because we've already got 2025 planned.
We do. You can already start signing up for that, I think. Well, the idea that the fallen realm have been trying to place their own king, Satan's been trying to place his own king on that throne. That, I would say, that goes back to the garden.
Yeah.
Trying to replace Adam.
Trying to take away his birthright.
Birthright, exactly.
Yep. They can't do it by producing a Messiah like Jesus of Nazareth, who was fully human and fully divine.
Exactly. Nephilim didn't work.
The Nephilim didn't work.
One of them was enough human to take that throne.
Half human, half divine.
It doesn't fit you.
But what they've been trying to do, apparently, and what they will try to do again through the Antichrist, is put a human who is possessed by a spirit on the throne.
I think so too. And I think that they may even be, the fallen realm may be trying to figure out a way to get someone who maybe almost qualifies as fully human or is fully human and simply controlled. It's very difficult to know exactly how they're going to, but they do want to take that throne, which is what the whole Antichrist label is about. Only Christ can sit on that throne. Anti simply means in place of.
Now, the 7 mountains here, this is why we've seen a number of different theories about the identity of Mystery Babylon.
Yeah.
There are some, the late Chuck Missler thought that Babylon would be rebuilt. Saddam Hussein began that project in the 80s, never completed. The 7 mountains would seem to point to Rome, but you can also identify, and there are some, like our friend Chris White, who identified Jerusalem as the location of this end days, last days occult system of the Antichrist. There are others who suggest that it's Mecca and Islam. Some who've even suggested New York City as the location of Mystery Babylon. I'm not sure any of those is really accurate.
Well, let me just say, I suspect that one of the reasons that it's thought to be a city is because it's referred to, Babylon's referred to, that great city.
Right.
Well, Babylon was a city. It was a kingdom. But I think this is a kingdom that is worldwide. She's also sitting, remember, she's sitting on a beast that has 7 heads. And these 7 heads may also represent the Anuna, the 7 judges of the abyss, the underworld.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Those were the former great gods of the ancient world, the former gods of Mesopotamia. The Hittites and Hurrians referred to them as the former gods.
And they're sometimes referred to as 7 burning mountains.
Yeah.
And Great Mountain was the name of
Enlil.
Who is probably Shemyaza.
Shemyaza, right. Enlil, who was known to the Romans as Saturn and to the Greeks as Kronos. Yeah, we're living in an age now that, according to astrologers, we don't subscribe to astrology. We know that our fates are not controlled by the movement of the planets in the skies, but it is useful to understand what they are trying to teach our friends and family members so that we can counter it. They believe that on December 21st of 2020, the winter solstice, when Jupiter and Saturn met in conjunction at 0 degrees of the constellation Aquarius, that we moved into a new age, the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
Finally, fully into the age of Aquarius, which is ruled by, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, which signifies a transfer of the baton from Jupiter, Baal, Satan, to Kronos, Saturn, Shemyaza.
Exactly, and I think that's what we're really seeing here, is a movement into that next owner of the crown.
Yeah.
You have taught in your book, The Second Coming of Saturn, that Aquarius is also the water bearer.
The water bearer, known in the ancient world as Ganymede.
Yes, Ganymede is very, very important.
Yeah.
He's a human that was brought up to the throne of Jupiter.
He was kidnapped.
Yeah.
He was assaulted.
Yeah, Jupiter pretended to be, or was it Zeus?
An eagle. Well, Zeus,
One of
Jupiter.
those,
Yeah,
same
they both
thing.
had the same myth.
Essentially, this is Satan.
Yeah. And carried him off to make him cupbearer of the gods. The myth as it's taught to kids in school as part of literature is cleaned up a great deal, but when you look at the way it's depicted in art from the ancient world, the classical era, it's clear that the young man was being assaulted by the eagle, and Zeus in the form of an eagle or Jupiter in the form of an eagle.
Yes, and he's represented in a lot of different ways artistically throughout history. And one of those ways is he represents young America.
Yeah, on the depiction of agriculture on the mural on the inside of the U.S. Capitol dome called the Apotheosis of Washington, young America wearing the Phrygian cap. That's exactly how Ganymede was depicted in the ancient world. He was placed in the sky, according to the myth, as the constellation Aquarius by Zeus for his service. But it is interesting that on the inside of a building, U.S. Capitol, named for the temple of Jupiter in Rome, the Capitolium, you've got this depiction of young America as the submissive boy toy, if you will, of the storm god who Jesus identified as Satan.
Yes, the Phrygian cap is also worn by Mithras, who was the Zoroastrian rising and dying God who destroyed the bull,
Right.
Tauroctony,
Mm-hmm.
and created the earth out of it, or all of the new cities and things. We've also see it in liberty, freedom representations, which is just the goddess Inanna, and she looks pretty much like a guy in a dress.
Pretty manly.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So very androgynous, sort of like our own Liberty, who doesn't wear a Phrygian cap. She wears essentially the crown on her head.
Yes, Lady Liberty in the harbor of New York.
So strange symbolism.
One other thing I want to point out here in verse 11 that just occurred to me, and I think this is really interesting to speculate. We mentioned before, the beast that was and is not, it is an eighth, but it belongs to the seven, and it goes to destruction, in Greek, Apollyon.
Yes.
Okay, we know that Apollyon, Abaddon, emerges from the abyss in Revelation chapter
The
9.
destroyer.
The destroyer. In the second coming of Saturn, I identify that entity as Molech. In other words, Saturn, Kronos, Shemiyaza is also the destroyer.
Yes.
Abaddon, Apollyon. What if that 5-month period, because all we're told about this entity when he emerges from the abyss is 5 months he gets to torment those without the seal of God on their foreheads. It's almost like he's an agent of judgment, God's judgment against an unbelieving world.
Yes, but
This
he gets
entity
his
goes...
just desserts in the end.
Well, he does, we assume, but we don't see anywhere in Revelation specifically that the destroyer is himself destroyed. What I'm suggesting here, and this is again speculation, I could be way off base here, out on a limb sawing it off behind me. This entity, it goes to Apollyon. Does that mean Apollyon takes it out as well?
Well,
is there a civil war amongst the fallen?
Okay, I'll tell you what, that's a big, big topic, and we cannot cover it in a minute. We simply cannot. We're running out of time. But I think that there's something to that, which is why when you said the word destruction earlier, I said it is Apollyon. I
Right.
just looked it up. And whether or not that refers to the name of an entity,
Right.
a lot of times, especially in Isaiah, when the Holy Spirit inspires these scriptures, these prophetic utterances, they have a little bit of a nudge, nudge, wink, wink twist to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that the Lord is giving us a clue in this. Not only, and I do think that Shemiyaza goes to judgment. I really do.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that there are a lot of judgment scenes that imply, even if it's not in Revelation, that we see that Shemiyaza eventually gets
I agree.
total
In
destruction.
First Enoch,
But I
that's-
agree with you. I think he and the others get out of Tartarus for the final 5-month period.
Mm-hmm. And whether it's God that destroys them or they destroy each other, which certainly
may
wouldn't be the first
happen.
time, because we saw it. Well, yeah, again, no
Next
time
week.
to discuss that in 30 seconds, but we will talk about this more next week. Again, speculation here, maybe way off base, and in the context of all of Scripture and what we know, I could be way wrong here.
We could. And can we bring Godzilla again? We'll talk about that next week.
Thank you for watching. This is Unraveling Revelation.
Unraveling Revelation is a viewer-supported outreach of Gilbert House Ministries. Follow us online at unravelingrevelation.tv and gilberthouse.org. That's where you'll find our weekly Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us through our websites or drop us a line at P.O. Box 78, Crane, Missouri 65633.